Welcome into the Season 2 premiere episode of the Mouthing Off with Mike Wrestling Podcast. And this week, since it's a new year, it's a new season, it's a new me. It's a new Mouthing Off with Mike. We're going to do things a little bit differently. I was doing two separate shows, one for WWE, one for AEW. I was doing a lot of recap. If you're listening to a wrestling podcast, you more than likely already watched the show. So we're going to cut back on the recap. We're going to talk more about what I thought of the show, what I thought of the angles, what I think is headed for the next couple weeks to months when it comes to WWE, AEW. This first past week of 2024, we saw WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW, all make statement shows to start 2024's wrestling year. So sit back, relax. We're going to jump into it here on Mouthing Off with Mike Wrestling Podcast, the only wrestling podcast that is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Mouthing Off with Mike, Mouthing Off with Mike, Mouthing Off with Mike.
We're going to start off with the first official professional wrestling show that took place in the new year of 2024. That was Monday Night Raw's edition of WWE Day 1 Raw. And Monday Night Raw opened with Becky and Nia, a great statement win for Nia. Realistically, Becky gave Nia her best match of her career here on Monday Night Raw. So I would give it 4 gabagools here on the show. Monday Night Raw was a very, very good wrestling show. For 3 hours, it flew by. The show was headlined by the mystery return of a WWE champion and as well a World Heavyweight Championship match. And I gotta say, Monday Night Raw was really, really good. It flowed very well. Nothing really to complain about. It advanced a lot of storylines, particularly, of course, what's going to happen with Becky after her loss to Nia. Becky, as we know on the preview show Thursday, is in the Royal Rumble. So is Shinsuke Nakamura, a guy who's got a problem with Cody Rhodes when it comes to finishing their stories. Shinsuke wants to take away Cody's ability to finish his story, and Shinsuke is going to finish it for himself. We're going to get that match next week on Monday Night Raw. This Raw did not have CM Punk, which, honestly, it wasn't a big deal. Raw was still very good. We talked a lot about Monday Night Raw, and the main things, really coming out of Monday Night Raw was Nia, Becky, The Rock's return, calling out Roman, and Seth and Drew for the world title in the main event. But there was still some good entertainment on Raw. Miz TV broke down into an impromptu tag team with The Miz taking on the Judgment Day's Dom and JD McDonough. We saw the reunited Awesome Truth, which was awesome. That's what's up. They get the win. It was hysterical. Our Truth is the best when it comes to comedy in wrestling right now. The Miz was also very entertaining here in this segment. Dom, JD, they're just good stooges when you need them to be. Ivy Nile took on Rhea for the Women's World Championship. This was a fantastic showing for Ivy Nile. Now, Rhea retained her title, no question about that. But Ivy Nile, for her first singles match on the main roster since getting called up with the Creed brothers, fantastic showing for Ivy Nile. This is what exactly you need to do for a woman who maybe the crowd's not too familiar with her. Maybe they're not watching NXT. This was perfect. This worked for me so well. She had a great showing, and I said maybe like a month and a half ago when they debuted that Ivy Nile's probably going to hold gold in 2024, and I still don't doubt that. I still think she's got a shot to hold gold, maybe in the tag division, but certainly a great match, and she can go in the ring, so I can't wait to see what she's able to do on Monday Night Raw. Kofi and Jey Uso had a tag match against the Imperium's Kaiser and Vinci, which was stopped due to ref stoppage. Vinci got a little banged up, possibly concussion. He was all good at the end of the day, which was good to see. But yeah, Monday Night Raw, great show. Overall, I enjoyed it. NXT followed the same formula. And I wasn't upset at all this week about professional wrestling across the board. AEW, WWE, New Japan. I caught WrestleKingdom, a fantastic show as well. So there wasn't much to complain about for the first week of 2024 in pro wrestling. Now, what everybody wants to talk about, the grand return of a former WWE champion, the modern day Maharaja, Jinder Mahal, made his triumphant return to Monday Night Raw on the Day 1 edition. And when I tell you, this crowd sounded like a deflated balloon just going, whoo. It was hysterical. Jinder talks a lot of smack about the crowd, blah, blah, blah. We all were anticipating The Rock. We saw The Rock at the Rose Bowl Monday in California. San Diego is about a 2.5-hour drive from Los Angeles. No doubt in my mind, especially because Nick Khan was in the photo with him, that The Rock was showing up. You heard me talk about it here. If you're not tuned into the YouTube, make sure you subscribe and all my social media channels. You heard me say, The Rock wants to sit at the head of the table. What does that mean? For Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, LA Knight, nobody knows. But we did see a triple threat match take place on SmackDown with AJ, LA Knight, and Randy. And now it is clear that at the Royal Rumble, thanks to the Bloodline interrupting a damn good main event match on SmackDown New Year's Revolution, we are going to get Randy Orton versus AJ Styles versus LA Knight versus the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns Royal Rumble. And if we perchance were to get The Rock versus Roman, there's a possibility that happens at Elimination Chamber and not WrestleMania. But it is one of the biggest matches you could have in WWE in the year of 2024. Dare I say one of. I would put Cody Rhodes in that slot as well. I would put CM Punk in that slot as well when it comes to taking on Roman at WrestleMania. Looks like Punk and Seth are headed that direction. But what does that mean with The Rock being back? Everything is up in the air. The Rock wants a seat at the head of the table, and I don't doubt that he's going to get a chance in the next couple months. Drew McIntyre has come up short now against Seth. Again, Seth was able to retain his title, but that is not due in part to Damian Priest almost cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase. I liked what we did here. You kind of protect Drew a little bit, because if it wasn't for Priest attempting to cash in, maybe Drew's eyes are on the prize. Seth was distracted. Drew had a chance, but the way things turned out, Seth was able to sneak out a victory. It leaves things very open for Drew, because now Drew can go after the Judgment Day and Priest. You know, who's Seth's next opponent? The Royal Rumble's almost here. So there's a lot of things that are flowing. And I thought Monday Night Raw was really good. Look, it's a new formula here on the show, so I'm trying to break the old habits when it comes to just doing a full recap here. Sometimes I might fall into my old habits, but I'm working on it. We're trying to elevate things to the next level for 2024. You know, speaking of elevating things to the next level, Shawn Michaels has been doing a great job of elevating the next generation of superstars in NXT. And I have to say, NXT New Year's Evil was a solid show, keeping up with the trend. WWE Raw Day 1, fantastic. NXT New Year's Evil, very good. And SmackDown New Year's Revolution was fantastic. So WWE crushed it. NXT New Year's Evil, highlighted by Trick and Ilya Dragunov, changed due to Ilya not being medically cleared from a worked injury from Ridge Holland a few weeks ago. So we're not getting Trick and Dragunov. We get Trick and Grayson Waller. And thanks to Mello, his good friend, Trick's #1 contendership for the NXT Championship is on the line in this match. Now that says a lot here about the accusations of Mello potentially attacking Trick a couple months ago, costing him a chance back then. Now Trick, there's no excuses for Mello. Trick gets a shot at the title against Ilya. But I don't think Mello can stand this. And I think Mello's jealousy is solely going to eat him away till the point it breaks and he attacks his good friend Trick. and we get that feud. I have a feeling more than likely coming up towards WrestleMania weekend in a couple months when we get that NXT Stand and Deliver Philly. Blair Davenport and Lyra Valkyria opened the show, a solid opener. I'm a big fan of both of these women. Lyra Valkyria retained her championship. We also saw on the show Roxanne Perez take on Ariana Grace. Roxanne won, but after the match attacked Ariana Grace, and the ref reversed the decision. Now, for my stat people, for my historians, I don't remember the last time we saw a ref reverse their winner's decision, but I like this. This was a nice little nuance, and it's going to help with the Roxanne mentally breaking down character that we're starting to see from her. We also had another women's match. Like I said, Shawn Michaels knows how to cook here on NXT. That was between Fallon Henley and Tiffany Stratton. Now, here's the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. If Fallon Henley loses, she becomes Tiffany's servant maid for a day. If Tiffany loses to Fallon, she becomes Fallon's ranch hand for a day. Now, before even getting into this match, I sat here and I said, what is going to make for entertaining television next week on NXT? Makes all the sense in the world for Tiffany Stratton to lose, because how great is it going to be seeing Tiffy Time down and dirty in the mud and the farm, cleaning up horses, pigs, whatever. How great is that going to be? You know, the rich, spoiled girl in the dirt, in the mud, having to work. Chef's kiss, hysterical. Fallon gets the win against Tiffany, and that is a reality. And I can't wait to see these clips of Tiffany working on the ranch. They're going to do numbers on social media, maybe even go platinum on Twitter. Also, very interesting to note, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is returning. We're going to see some interesting teams so far. Axiom, Nathan Frazier are going to be involved. They make great enemies, but they might make a hell of a tag team. And Baron Corbin wants to tag with Braun Breaker. How's that going to work out? Two guys that just about nobody likes when it comes to NXT, especially Braun Breaker, Mr. Meaner Than Evil. And I already like this. There's a chance that they win the Dusty Cup. Hear me out. Hear me out. That would be good TV, wouldn't it? Listen, NXT New Year's Evil, a solid show. Night Smackdown New Year's Revolution kept up with the trend this week for a statement week in WWE. Kicking off the show, Kevin Owens taking on Santos Escobar to determine who's going to take on Logan Paul for the United States Championship at the Royal Rumble. Fantastic match to open SmackDown, I have to say. If there was no commercials and this was on a premium live event, this would have probably been like a 4-star match. Because of the commercials, obviously that, takes a little bit away from it, but still, great opener. We're going to have two champions that we rarely see on SmackDown here on the show tonight. The first, the Maverick Logan Paul, and the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens beats Santos Escobar. Kevin Owens also gets one over on Logan Paul and cracks him one, knocks him out. Very funny backstage with Waller and Theory. They're trying to buddy up to Logan. I have a feeling that those two goons are going to come into play at the Rumble match. Probably screw KO over for the championship and set something up there. As for the rest of SmackDown, really good, guys. SmackDown was really good. 2 hours. It moved. There was not a second where I was like, I'm bored, or, let's get to the next thing. Everything had a purpose. Everything was about advancing storylines, and it all worked. We have the return of the Authors of Pain, AOP, with Paul Ellering. We haven't seen them in over 4 years since they got called up to the main roster and they took away Paul Ellering. Terrible decision there. Karrion Kross is aligned as well. Scarlett has a new look. She looks fierce and intimidating, and Kross looks jacked. I have high hopes for this faction. They attack the almighty prophets during their kind of setting up their New Year's resolutions for 2024. I like it. Dominance to start with this faction. And if they can keep it going, then there's a chance that they could become the next big faction on SmackDown. Would love to see them take off here. A fantastic women's championship match. Mi Shin taking on Io Sky. Mi Shin deserves to be wrestling on television weekly. She deserves more opportunities. She showed that here tonight on SmackDown. The ladies tore the house down here. They would have been the top match of the night had the triple threat for Roman's challenger at Royal Rumble did not happen. This would have been the main event. This would have been probably the best match of the night. So shout out to the ladies for killing it. Io Sky retains. Mi Shin hit a second rope Styles clash. After that, it is decided that Mi Shin is in fact the leader of the club with Gallows and Anderson. AJ is going to go ahead and do his lone wolf thing. So let's keep that going. Mi Shin, make her the leader of the club. Lead Gallows and Anderson through the tag division back to supremacy. Fingers crossed. As for another tag team match here on the show, Pretty Deadly Yes Boy taking on Butch and a mystery partner. Ladies and gentlemen, SmackDown just received the big strong boy, Tyler Bate, finally getting his long-awaited call-up. It seems from NXT to SmackDown. I loved it. Tyler Bate got the pinfall for the team in his SmackDown debut. Great stuff. Sky's the limit there for them. Paul Heyman cut an insane promo mentioning a bunch of the names. CM Punk's name was referenced. Paul Heyman admonishing that the story for Cody, it's over, forget about it. But I don't believe that. I still think Rock and Roman is going to happen at the Chamber. Cody's going to finish the story at Mania 40. Maybe I'm delusional. Hey, if I am, I am. But that's just what I see. They wouldn't keep referencing the story if they weren't going to go back into it and open up another chapter for this Mania season. Something's cooking here. I have no doubt. Maybe Roman's drops the title at Royal Rumble. I don't know. But for now, Paul, good stuff from Paul. Once again, proving why he's the best manager, promo, best mind in professional wrestling out there still to this day. The main event was so damn good. AJ Styles, Randy Orton, LA Knight had the crowd in the palm of their hands. I was in the palm of their hands. I enjoyed this main event so much. That was until the Roman Reigns came on down to the ring with the Bloodline, Jimmy and Solo, and they absolutely destroyed all three men. Now, LA Knight was busted open in this match. He looked dope, I have to say. He looked really cool. I'll probably have a photo of that here for you so you can check it out. But this was so good until the Bloodline interfered. Now, the whole match, Nick Aldis was out there. And I thought Nick Aldis was going to screw one of the guys, maybe Randy Orton. You know, Randy did RKO him a few weeks ago, so could have been something there. Maybe they were setting up a feud there. That wasn't the case. But after the match, everything was said and done. The competitors are destroyed. What does Nick Aldis tell Paul Heyman? Tells, well, you can tell your client that because of this and this interference at the Royal Rumble, it's a fatal four-way. Come on, guys. That's so freaking fire. Like, more than likely, Roman's going to retain because AJ and LA are gonna beef because there's some beef there. Randy and Roman will probably be pretty focused. You know the Bloodline's going to get involved at some point in this match. Roman's going to retain his title somehow at the Rumble. But what if he doesn't? What if the title does drop? It would certainly make WrestleMania even crazier for the scenarios then. You know, if a guy like Randy won it, or a guy like LA Knight, or a guy like AJ Styles, what then are your main events? Now, I still think the story for Cody is Roman. They made it personal. Paul and Roman both made it personal. We know Roman was one of Dusty's kids. Cody was never able to experience NXT, never got to experience that with his father. So don't you think it's personal that he wants to be the one to dethrone Roman for the titles and make history? Because you can't do it in a multi-person match. Because if Randy pins LA Knight for the title and Randy and Cody go on to main event WrestleMania, that's a great match. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of story there. But What about the historic title run of Roman Reigns? It has to be a singles match. It has to be one person, I think, personally, in my opinion. Someone needs to pin Roman, and that is going to move them to heights previously unknown in WWE. And that is the case. That's my bold prediction. Fatal 4-way at SmackDown is going to be Fatal 4-way at the Royal Rumble is going to be spectacular. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. It's time for the first AEW Dynamite of 2024. And I got to say, you heard me say it in the beginning of the show, wrestling hit on all levels this week. All the companies hit their stride for the first year of pro wrestling, for the first week of pro wrestling in the new year. See, I'm all over the place. That's how good wrestling was this week. AEW Dynamite is going to kick off with a pre-taped promo from Samoa Joe from World's End. Samoa Joe is going to be a fighting champion, guys. We already know this. He's going to probably have a nice little title run, maybe head to Revolution, maybe Double or Nothing, drop the title to maybe a Swerve, maybe, fingers crossed, or Hangman. We get that feud again with Swerve and Hangman, it seems. So maybe Swerve has a title and then Hangman comes looking around for part 4, because at the end of Dynamite, we're going to get part 3, it looks like, to Swerve and Hangman. But Dynamite, great show. Something about Dynamite felt right. We had great in-ring action. We had a surprise signing and a killer main event and a great closing segment. So starting from the top, Orange Cassidy defending his title against Dante Martin. A great match to kick off Dynamite formally with the first match. OC retains. I spoke about it on the year-end awards. OC is a guy who you really got to give some flowers to. You know, a lot of people maybe didn't understand him, myself included. I didn't get the gimmick back in the early inception of AEW. I started to understand it. I started to get it. I started to really become a fan of Orange Cassidy, and he has exceeded my expectations. One of the better champions in AEW up to this point. What he's doing for that championship is great. I love it. For the rest of Dynamite, we're going to get the in-ring debut of the Ace of Stardom, Mariah May. She's going to take on Queen Aminado. Another solid match. Mariah May, I think, is going to breathe some life into the AEW women's division. She gets a win for her debut match. After the match, Renee's out here to cut a promo with her, and she's interrupted, ladies and gentlemen, by free agent of the professional wrestling world as of the new year, the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo, Jersey's own, is here, and she puts foot to face and kicks Mariah May out of the ring, stealing her big in-ring debut spotlight. I love it. Can't wait to see what Deonna brings to the AEW women's division. Something I've been clamoring for quite some time. The women's division to feel important, and maybe this is the start of it. Maybe Tony Khan has heard the fans complain that, it seems that they're booked like an afterthought. You have an insane talent pool. Like, look at all of the women on the AEW roster. Some are even in Ring of Honor right now, of course. That's how many women you've got. Just signed Purrazzo. You got Mariah May. You're rumored to be signing Mercedes Moné. Time will tell. I'm not going to get into the Mercedes watch at this point because we did a lot of speculating for CM Punk, and look what happened. He returned to WWE. So I'm not going to say anything about Mercedes Moné until she debuts in whatever company she decides to debut in, and whoever's going to give her the Brinks truck, as realistically, she deserves it. She's one of the most iconic women's wrestlers of this generation already. So, well-deserved for her. She bet on herself, and I think it's going to pay off, at least for her pockets. Good stuff here. Women's division already feels like a breath of fresh air. Breathe into it. The patriarch, ladies and gentlemen, of AEW, Christian Cage. And I keep saying, man, he's doing wonders. There is going to be no more title opportunities for Adam Copeland, he says. He thanked Nick Wayne. He thanked Mother Wayne. Poor Killswitch just gets thrown to the side here. He doesn't thank Killswitch. I have no doubt in my mind, at some point, Killswitch is going to snap on Christian, and we're going to get some sort of rivalry between those two, but hysterical stuff here, guys. Christian Cage doing some of the best work of his career ever. Darby Allin was murdered by Takeshita on this episode of Dynamite. There's no easy way to say this, guys. Darby Allin got thrown around this ring like a rag doll. There was a rolling suplex down the ramp. He threw Darby all over the ring. Darby dove out of the ring, and Takeshita caught him with a knee that was so violent and vicious. I actually was like, what? Like, I jumped out of my seat. Like, I was so taken aback. I thought he was out. Like, I thought he was knocked out, guys. Like, it was insane. Takeshita, a massive win here. This is what we should have been doing with Takeshita all along. Get him out of the Callis family now. Please, I beg of you, Tony. He's so good. He's so good in the ring. Big deal. The guy, may not be the best English. We got subtitles. Don't worry about it. Give him that singles run. Let him be just a downright despicable heel. It works. He destroyed Darby. Darby and Sting are going to have a match against Takeshita and Hobbs next week on Dynamite. So as soon as we get some momentum for Takeshita, he's back with the Callis family. So you know what's going to happen here. Sting is not losing on his farewell tour. So Sting and Darby are probably going to win next week, unless they shock me, and so be it. There's that chance they do. Eddie Kingston is your Continental Crown. He's the first Triple Crown champion since Vader. He's holding the Ring of Honor World Championship. He's holding the Continental Crown Championship for AEW. And he also holds the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Heavyweight Championship. Eddie Kingston is going to find out who his first challenger is going to be on Collision between Trent Beretta, Brian Keith, Brian Cage, and Vikingo. Trent Beretta gets a big win here. This is a fun four-way match here on Dynamite. Again, the in-ring action was solid. I'm excited for Trent Beretta. He deserves this opportunity. The guy's been a day one guy in AEW, so him and Eddie Kingston on Collision, it's going to be pretty solid. Ladies and gentlemen, your main event of Dynamite was Swerve Strickland taking on Daniel Garcia in the battle of the viral dances because Prince Nana and Daniel Garcia had a dance-off mid-match. All jokes aside, very great match for Daniel Garcia. A great showing for Swerve. Gets another big win here on his quest to become a world champion. Now, because MJF lost the title, all eyes are affixed on Samoa Joe and that AEW World Championship for Swerve Strickland. Dynamite, great first Dynamite of 2024. Gentlemen, welcome to the final segment here of Mouthing Off with Mike. The final mouth off with Mike. Kind of goes without saying here, guys. So, this past week in professional wrestling, we had a great week. If you caught WrestleKingdom 18 early Thursday morning, then you saw a fantastic first pay-per-view for New Japan Pro Wrestling to start their 2024, headlined by Naito and Sonata for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Naito finally gets his big win in the Tokyo Dome and is not spoiled. He gets to do his roll call. Great stuff from New Japan. Okada and Danielson, a fantastic match. Probably when we talk end-of-year awards for 2024, this will probably be a match of the year, no doubt in my mind. I want to see them do it again. I want to see another one. We saw the first one. We saw the second one. I want the third one. I want it Wembley. Give it to me, Tony Khan. You know the deal. For the rest of Wrestle Kingdom, a new global champion was unveiled. David Finlay overcame Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay, both of them with some very cool entrance gears. Will Ospreay dressed like an assassin from Assassin's Creed. Moxley dressed up like Red Hood from Batman comics. Now, I did not know Moxley was down like that, but hell yeah, Mox. I became a bigger fan because of it. I love the Red Hood fit. Looked so sick. Wrestle Kingdom, go check it out if you haven't on NewJapanProWrestlingWorld.com. It was $10 for the month. You get all the shows, the pay-per-views for the month. You also got New Year's Dash as well the next night. And New Japan is cooking on all cylinders here, ladies and gentlemen, because recently released, now 90-day no-compete clause has been lifted. Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth, made his appearance in New Japan at WrestleKingdom, and he attacked, much like the guy who attacked the judge in the courtroom, he attacked David Finlay at the press conference. So it looks like Dolph, Nick Nemeth, might be coming for that global championship real soon. Matt Riddle also called out Tanahashi. Wild, absolutely wild. Didn't think I'd see that, but Matt Riddle's going to go to Japan. Okay, I'm here for it. So Wrestle Kingdom, good show. Go catch it if you haven't. As for the final mouth-offs here for WWE, look, The Rock, a lot of things change now for WrestleMania season. Is Cody going to take on Roman? We don't know. Is Seth and Punk going to happen? Maybe. Things will get clearer once we get closer to the Rumble, once we get further from the Rumble. When you get on that road to WrestleMania, anything and anything can happen, because look at what happened with Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston was not supposed to win the WWE Championship, but the fans backed him. Kofi Mania happened. He throned Bryan Danielson at WrestleMania. Same thing could happen here on the road to WrestleMania. A new star could emerge. Something that you can't deny it, and you got to give him that spot. I still think The Rock Roman's going to happen at the Elimination Chamber. You need a big match to sell that pay-per-view. You got to be up at like 4 a.m., 6 a.m. on the East Coast. That's going to be a tough sell. I don't know, man. So I think Rock Roman could headline that. Potentially, you could do a double main event. Rock, Roman, Cody Roman. I don't know, guys. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to get too crazy into it. I'd love to see both of these matches happen at WrestleMania, because I'm going to WrestleMania. So I'm very torn. If Rock and Roman happens at Mania, I'll be ecstatic. I get to see The Rock wrestle for the first time ever in my 26 years of life. Second of all, if Cody and Roman 2 happens, I got to see the second installment in their matches. I saw the first one last year at 39. I was deflated. Don't get me wrong. I thought Cody was going to do it. Still, he has a chance to do it, and it could be big time. The WWE Undisputed Tag Team titles need to be split up tomorrow. There are too many teams on Raw and SmackDown to have one pair of champions floating between both shows. The Judgment Day, I love Finn and Priest as tag champs. I don't want them to drop the titles. I'm not saying for them to drop the titles. But I am saying WWE is going to have to split them at some point. You've got so many teams on Raw. The Creed Brothers, DIY, The New Day when Xavier Woods is healthy, Viking Raiders when Eric is healthy. You've got Vinci and Kaiser. There's a lot of teams. SmackDown, just as many teams, if not more. You've got the Bloodline. Obviously, Jimmy and Solo are doing whatever Roman wants them to do, but they could go for tag gold. You got Pretty Deadly. You got the Almighty Prophets. You've got the Good Brothers. You've got the LWO. Dare I say you've got more tag teams on SmackDown than possibly Raw, but we have to split the titles. It's time. You have the returning debut of AOP this week. Another tag team, another faction on SmackDown. Tag titles got to get split. We need to see something go on there. The Raw side get their shot. The SmackDown teams get their shots for the titles. A lot of teams are clamoring for tag title opportunities. So it's going to have to happen eventually. I hope it happens before WrestleMania so you can get to maybe multi-team matches like they did last year at Mania at 39. I don't know. That's just spitball here. AEW. A lot of people were worried because of the Continental Classic finishing up that AEW was gonna have a problem with matches and television, but they did not have a problem this first show of the year. A great show, headlined by a great debut, a great addition to the AEW women's division. So here's hoping AEW can keep this momentum going for the remainder of 2024, because 2023 got a little muddy. I'll be honest. I want AEW to succeed. I'm not one of those people that is wishing for their demise. I love professional wrestling. And when I say I love professional wrestling, I can talk about just about any professional wrestling. I watch just about anything. I can stay up all night watching New Japan. I can stay up all morning watching a premium live event from across the pond for AEW or WWE. Anything. I'll watch indie stuff. We're going We're going to GCW when they come out here to Arizona for their debut. I'm going to be there. I can watch just about any wrestling as long as it's entertaining. And a lot of wrestling in this generation, in these last couple years, has been very good. For AEW, keep the momentum going. Things are firing in all cylinders. And I just hope they don't get too dependent upon mystery signings and signing free agents here the next couple months, weeks. But definitely a drastic change in AEW programming this week. And I love to see it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my thoughts this past week on professional wrestling across the globe. You heard me say in the year-end awards, 2023, I didn't watch too much, New Japan, Ring of Honor. This year, we're going to try to watch a lot more, so I can cover a lot more for everybody, cover all those fan bases. If you're watching WWE, if you're watching AEW, if you're watching Ring of Honor, New Japan, Stardom, all of the above and anything in between. So there you have it, folks. The first episode of Season 2 of 2024 for Mouthing Off with Mike Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, I am a WWE Shop affiliate, which means if you use my link to get any new gear from WWE Shop, it directly helps support the show, helps me make improvements, help me hopefully do some cool contests for 2024 for all of you to win some merch. So there you have it, folks. That's this week's episode. Go out there and enjoy pro wrestling. From your host here, I'm signing off.
Mouthing off with Mike. Mouthing off with Mike. Mouthing off with Mike.